Level Leadership channel, and we're glad to have you with us. I'm Richard Jolliffe. You want to tell them who you are?
I'm Sharon Jolliffe.
And we are the leaders at Next Level Leadership. And so we're really excited. We're going to be taking some time every week to share with you different leadership principles, probably 15 minutes, 20 minutes, I would guess, less than 20. But just little snippets of leadership information that we've learned in over really
44 years.
44 years of ministry that we've had together. We've done everything from being missionaries to pastors down in the Appalachia area to pastoring here in Michigan now for quite a period of time. And I was thinking about how that Next Level actually got started. Initially it was called Eagles, but it came out of a time that my mother was diagnosed with cancer.
Right.
And I was driving back and forth to Akron, Ohio to take her to her chemotherapy.
Right.
And I think I would do that like twice a week at one point there. And we were sharing that among the family. Well, it would be 6 hours down, 6 hours back. And a lot of times, I'd do like our Wednesday night service and then I would leave afterwards and drive down. And so
a lot of time in the car.
A lot of time in the vehicle, going back and forth on the turnpike. And so what I did was I started thinking, well, how could I best use this time? And I had 100 cassettes by John Maxwell on leadership.
Yeah.
And we had been to one of Maxwell's conferences. And so I had all those cassettes. And so I would play those cassettes. And then I had a little mini recorder. And when John Maxwell said something that I thought, well, that's really great. That applies to us.
Right.
I would reverse it, and then I would play it again, and then I'd hit my little recorder. And then I'd take it back to our secretary, which was Tanya at the time. And Tanya would type up all the notes.
Yep.
And then that's really how we developed it. And that kind of grew into Eagles, which is energizing and growing leaders empowered supernaturally. And we started primarily working with church organizations at that point. And then after several years of doing that, and it seemed like that wasn't really going anywhere at that point.
Well, you were pastoring too.
I was pastoring as well here in Michigan. That it just really felt strong about going through John Maxwell's leadership training,
mentoring,
and his coaching institute. And so we signed up for that, and it was funny because the home we're sitting in right now, we were doing all of this during that time. We were buying this house. I was going through the JMT with Maxwell's ministry, the training, and we flew to Florida. While we were still dealing with the house situation.
We were waiting for appraisals, inspections.
Yeah.
We were approved. We were just waiting for all of the final.
So I did all of their course, the classes that they had for coaching and for leadership training. And when we came back home, we received a phone call from someone. I received early morning text actually, from someone that worked in one of the companies here in Michigan, and they had some issues getting their speaker for the leadership training they were doing. And so they said, would you be willing to come and do that? And that really kicked it off. That started the whole thing.
Yep.
And I can still remember I taught on change, which their company was going through some changes at that time. Through a series of events, we've had opportunity to connect with businesses and corporations excuse me, in the state of Michigan. And this is live, so we won't be editing it. But with businesses and corporations and doing life coaching, as well as pastoring a great church, Amazing Grace Church. But it's been exciting to see. You, of course, then decided to go through the DISC training. Why don't you tell a little bit about that?
So DISC is a personality assessment program that you can take and so I went through that and got licensed to be able to give those assessments. And so we put those that we put them through those assessments. It helps them to identify what their personality is. So DISC, D is a driver, I is an influencer, S is a stable person. Not that the rest of them aren't stable, but
Well, that depends on who's talking
and
looking
then
at them.
C is the correct. So I take people through that and help them to, because once you realize, I mean, I know we went through that early in our marriage, and it helped us a lot because it helped me to realize who you were, and you realized who I was, and
Right.
so we could work with each other's strengths in that. So yeah, so it's fun to go through that with companies and people and individuals and walk them through that and watch their eyes open up to say, oh, that's why I do that.
So you are a certified
I'm
disc trainer.
certified, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we find that to be very valuable in companies and places that we work with people to help them discover their personality, but also their coworkers, and getting to be able to do that together. By the way, if you're hearing yelling, that is not,
It's not a kid or anybody, we don't have anybody locked up in the basement.
no, that actually is one of our goats.
Yes.
And we're close to milking time here at the farm. And so,
She's hungry.
yeah, she wants food, she wants milk, and
Yeah.
so she's throwing a fit. So
Yeah.
we apologize for that. We used to do these, and we would have our dog barking whenever we would do it. Well, she passed away this last
February,
spring,
yeah.
and so we miss her. But anyways, we've got the goats to make plenty of noise, so that'll be fun. But so what we're going to be doing in these broadcasts is basically doing what Next Level Leadership is all about, and that is helping people get to the next level. When I do life coaching, when we go into companies to do disc training, or we're going into work with the administration that's there, we do a lot of teamwork
Yeah.
efforts that we put together. And when we do that, what we're trying to do is to help them move just a little bit if we can. If we can get them to move a lot, that'd be great.
Yeah.
But we have to assess where that company is at, or that individual. And once we know where they're at, then we just are gifted at being able to take people to the next level from
yeah.
where they are. One of the things that that we talk a lot about, which we learned this through John Maxwell's training, is that how that there is a place in our lives where we hit a wall, basically. Maxwell calls it the law of the lid. Nothing will rise above the law of the lid. In psychology, they call it the liminal space, and that's where the fear of going forward is as great as the fear of staying where you are.
Yeah.
And it's a very uncomfortable place.
Right.
Some psychologists call it the terror barrier, because there's just a lot of fear that's involved with it. And how do I go forward? How do I
Take the risk.
Yeah, how do I
Yeah.
take the risk? And so what we like to be able to do is to help people break through those barriers, and to help them face whatever it is that's their liminal space, that thing that's saying you can't go forward.
Right.
Sometimes it's people, sometimes there's people skills, sometimes it's leadership skills, sometimes it's, there's just things that they're struggling with that they need to break through. But we love to help them break through. And I just actually finished up with a client that I was working with, and very challenging situation, but that individual actually broke through a very serious barrier that was a limiting factor in their life,
Yeah.
and had to confront some things. But when they did, they really felt better about themselves. They
Right.
felt like they were moving forward. And that's really what we feel Next Level Leadership is really all about.
Well, and you've developed quite a few teachings out of all the tapes that you listen to, all of the books that you've read, just on leadership. Like one of my favorite ones that you did was Not Enough Time and Too Little Energy.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorites, that you talk about how that we can organize ourselves, and so that we have the time to do what we're supposed to do. One of the other ones that you do is talking about what your purpose is.
Right.
Identifying what your purpose is. The other one I like that you do is it's called You're the Leader.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that we would probably really like for you to do is to comment below, or you could send us a message
or like this page.
or
that
like
would
this
help
page.
us
But
out.
one of the things that we'd like for you to do is maybe to, if you're struggling in an area, to comment, or what you would like for us to talk about. Maybe there's a specific area of leadership that you would like for us to talk about, and that way we can address. Because we just don't want to come on here and talk about something that you're not interested in.
Right.
I mean, that's not fun.
No, because what we feel like that we're supposed to do is come alongside the people
Right.
that are interested in what we're doing, and then to help them move to that next level.
Yeah.
And we're always in our lives, just kind of introducing ourselves to you all. We're always raising the bar in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
We don't keep low. We don't lower the bar.
Right.
We're always raising the
Right.
bar. About 7 years ago, we were living comfortably in a home in Breckenridge, Michigan.
Where we had lived for 25 years.
Yeah, and at 60 some years old,
60. Yeah.
yeah,
I
60
was
years
60,
old,
yeah.
we made a decision that we were going to buy it. We bought the farm.
We bought the farm. We used to say that all the time, and then I
Yeah.
was like, we probably ought to stop saying that. But we did purchase a 2.5 acre hobby
Yep.
farm homestead. We
Yep.
call it a homestead. And Richard was raised in the city. He was
Right.
raised in Akron, Ohio. I was raised down in Marietta, Ohio, on a farm. More of we're raising our own food to feed 6 kids. That's what.
Right.
So my parents had 6 kids. We did the gardening and they did the canning.
Right.
But we at times we had animals,
Right.
and so he knew nothing about farming. Maybe a little bit.
Very little.
He knew that you had to feed stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we had to build fence, and we bought some pigs, and so basically we were in a whole new learning curve.
Yeah. We started small with cats.
Yeah,
Remember?
we did.
That was
we
the
did
first
buy.
thing
We
we
bought
got.
we went to the pound
And
or
got 2
Humane
cats,
Society.
yeah.
We got 2 cats. And then from there we went to pigs.
Yeah.
Really, you say, well, why would you do that? We have 3 grandkids that are 3 of our grandkids that are involved in 4-H, and they were borrowing other people's pigs
Yes.
to do 4-H or going to other people's farms. So I came up with this great idea. Let's buy this farm, and the kids can use our barn, and they can raise their pigs here
Yeah.
and come down here. And so that's why. That was our why. That's why we did that. So whenever we think about on cold days, winter days, whenever it's 0 out and it's snowy, it's icy, you don't want to get up and go put on all that stuff and go out and do all the chores. We remember our grandkids.
Yeah.
That's our why. But anyway, yeah, so so he knew nothing about delivering piglets,
Nope.
and you did it.
Yeah. And we've delivered sheep, and we've delivered
Goats.
goats and
Hatched eggs.
hatched eggs, and yeah, I've done all kinds of stuff. Had to put some animals down. And,
Yeah, that's the hard part.
yeah, but we learned, and so I basically was a YouTube farmer.
Yes,
And,
that's what we call you.
Yeah, the YouTube farmer, and I learned pretty much how to do fencing and posts and pigs and everything else from YouTube. So that's the kind of
Yeah.
people we are. We're always raising
Always,
the bar.
yeah.
We're never really like, okay,
And we had people say, "Why are you?
Why are you
at
doing-"
60?
Yeah.
Why are you doing this? You're
Yeah.
supposed to be downsizing." We got a house that was twice as big as the house we had,
yeah,
and you're supposed to be downsizing. And our question to them was, "Who said?"
yeah, exactly.
So, anyways, we like to challenge.
Yep, we like the challenge, and we do not like to just sit around and not have a challenge.
Not have a challenge.
So those are the kinds of things that we're going to be trying to help you with and to be there for you. As Sharon said, a couple ways that you can help us. One is that you can comment. This is what I'd like to hear you cover. The other is you can like this page, like this podcast.
Share it.
And share it with your friends, share it on your timeline. We'll, of course, have it posted on Facebook as well. So in our Next Level Leadership there. And so you can share it out of there, like that page as well. We will have a constant flow weekly of new information on leadership that we're going to be sharing.
It's gonna be fun.
Amen. You got anything else you want to say?
Nope.
All right,
I'm
good.
done.
Yeah, well, we promised you we'd keep you about 15 minutes, and I think we're there. And so I guess got to figure out how to get out of this.
We might be here for a while.
Yeah. Wow.
Are you
Yeah.
sure you want? Yes.